Hello, and welcome to ConTinual, the convention that never ends. My name is Jean Marie Ward, and I will be your host tonight for Pets and Familiars, where 5 wonderful writers talk about the magical creatures they've written into their work and the equally magical pets that inspired them. So to start off, I'm going to ask everybody to introduce themselves, starting with Becke.
I'm Becke Turner, and I write contemporary romance, and typically in small towns, and we like to have our pets in our small towns.
Great. Elektra?
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and editor, a former cat breeder, a current cat show judge, and just love all those pets.
Okay. Kaje?
I'm Kaje Harper. I write mostly MM romance and some young adult. Worked in a lot of vet clinics, and so the critters do tend to work their way into my stories, along with probably more than my share of veterinary protagonists.
Oh, cool. Okay. Mel.
Hi, I'm Mel Todd. I've got about 30 books out, and I grew up on a farm, and I have at least 4, 5, something like that, 4-footed ones around the house right now. So they may photobomb occasionally because they are, of course, it's all about them.
Absolutely. You know, it wouldn't be a Zoom call without an animal photobomb. Gini.
Hi, I'm Gini Koch. I write the Alien Catherine Kitty Cat series for dog books. I also write in every genre and every length and under 7 pen names at last count. I am also the proud possessor of the Canine Death Squad and the Killer Kitties. And yes, they and their representatives of others work into my stories all the time. I'm a huge animal lover, and if it basically has fur and hooves and even feathers, I love it, and it's going to make it in a book somewhere.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool. You know, several of you have mentioned that you have pets or have experienced pets. Are you all current pet owners or pet caretakers, or in the case of cats, cat staff?
Staff, yes, we're staff.
Yep.
We're staff.
Yeah,
So,
lots of animals. I came from actually a cattle rancher when we moved from South Carolina, from Missouri here. So we had horses, and we raised horses, cows, dogs. So yes, lots of animals.
yes. Elektra, earlier, before the recording started, we saw one of your cats, but how many do you have right now?
Oh, we're down to just the 7 right now.
Total restraint. Total restraint.
And they're big. That's the thing.
No, some of them are very short. We've got a couple of munchkin cats these days.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Kaje, you said that you were, you worked in a veterinary practice for many years.
Yeah,
Do you
I have a dog right now. She's a rescue. She came to us in the spring. She's a border collie lab mix, we think, although we call her a miniature flat-coated retriever because that's what she looks like. Lost my previous dog in the year before, so she was our puppy. Came to us with a broken hip, but had surgery and now runs like the wind, and you would never know it.
Oh, well, that's good. It breaks one's heart to hear that something has been cruel, something bad has happened to an animal.
I mean, my guess is she was hit by a car, most likely, because the force it takes to break a hip. But either whoever owned her couldn't afford it or didn't fix it. So I was very pleased she came to us because obviously, we had the opportunity then to get her back on 4 legs and running. And she loves the off-leash park. She's fast as can be.
When did you start incorporating animals into your work?
How old was I when I learned how to read? I think my very first story when I was 5 was about a girl at a horse show. So they've been there all along. It's always a part. In fact, I'd be hard pressed to think of any of my books that don't have an animal or pet of some kind in them. Even my werewolves have pets.
That could get exciting, couldn't it, when they change?
It's a little bit interesting. In my world, they don't, the werewolves terrify most animals, so it takes a little bit of finagling for them to actually own any.
Mhm. Very special pet is required, I would imagine. Yeah. What about you, Mel? What, when did you start incorporating animals into your work?
So if I remember correctly, I entered a short story contest when I was, 10 or 11. The main character was the flying unicorn.
Mhm.
I did not win. I was absolutely heartbroken about this. Looking
Mhm.
back, I kind of understand why, but I mean, really, who wouldn't want a unicorn Pegasus?
Yeah,
I think it
exactly.
was a natural.
Mhm. And now, in Twisted Luck, you've got a whole world of familiars.
I really am enjoying the Twisted Luck universe because it's interesting to write animals not as pets, but as fully intelligent beings who are deigning to link their existence with humans. And I really play up my main one, who's Carillion. He's a calf, and calf is actually the Welsh word for cat, but he's a calf. And every time I have to write something about him, I think back to that old story, Dick Whitaker's Cat, where the cat would sit on the king's throne and look like he should be there. And that is the attitude all of these beings have is, yes, no, this is my right. You should be happy to serve me in any way I want.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Elektra, it looks like you've already you're dealing with that physically right now.
Yeah,
Oh, Spot
the
has
house full of
changed.
cats.
Yes. I know you write as well as edit, as well as raise cats. When did you start incorporating animals into your work?
I co-wrote a story as a school assignment back when I was in, 6th or 7th grade. And I know we set it on the ranch so there could be horses. Because I was going through my horse phase.
Mhm.
I don't think I left
doesn't
my horse
everybody?
phase.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, doesn't everybody go through their horse phase where you read every single Margaret Henry book ever written, all the Walter Farley books, and then you try to convince your parents that you need the Black Stallion? That
That led
backyard.
to 2 years as a horseback riding counselor until I dropped a horse on my foot. But yeah, I know. I think I'm still in the horse phase. I still love them.
Yeah, I've
I
never
don't know
left
that
the
you ever
horse
grow
phase.
out of that. That's once bitten by the horse bug. We've been riding and showing and training for 50 years, and I've never given it up.
No, I love horses. They're
Yeah.
just great big dogs in my world. They're great big dogs.
Dogs are generally nice. Horses
You
don't
know, it
have to
depends on
be.
your horse. It depends on your horse.
Depends on the dog.
I've ridden horses that were the biggest, sweetest Clifford the Big Red dogs you could ever meet, and then there were the little jerk faces. So, and everything in between. So I don't know. I just think I love horses. So
Mhm, mhm.
like everybody else in the panel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I did that riding school counselor thing too, so.
Yeah. Becke, when did you start incorporating animals?
Probably my first stories. I've only got one. When I sat down, we were thinking about this panel tonight. Only have one, and it's a sports romance that did not include a pet. And I was thinking about, because to me, the pets for the writing, they're great for comic relief. They're great for internal dialogue because we talk to them, or I've always talked to my pets. It doesn't make any difference if I'm, training a horse or training a dog. So I think, I've always had an animal in my work. And like I said, the more conscious I get about it, then, the more fun I have with it. And I wrote the puppy barter was actually, I volunteer for a service dog training center here in Columbia. And that was based on the training that I did with those dogs. And they're amazing dogs to work with. So, and we do some some rescue work. Today, my husband and I spent the entire day transporting a dog from the pound here in Columbia out towards Spartanburg to a rescue center. And I think it was part Afghan. It's the biggest dog I'd ever seen in a while. But anyway, so yeah.
Some dogs you don't expect to be as big as they get. We had a neighbor who had a chocolate lab named Bruce, like the shark in Jaws. Bruce would bring you a log, but he was too stupid to let it go, so you could throw it. Bruce was the size of a small horse.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. And whatever, delivery people, not just the mail, but I'm talking refrigerator delivery people, would not go to the house because of Bruce. Bruce was an absolute sweetheart, but he was huge, and he bayed like the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Okay.
I mean, at 1 o'clock in the morning, it was like, oh.
When I was a kid, our dog was called Dominic, big black mutt. And, you know, he was a working dog, so he tended to be on a chain, on a cable that ran across our property. We had to upgrade that chain to an inch thick cow chain because he snapped the links on anything else that was lighter. So our property was fenced. The meter guys for the gas and water, or just gas, electricity, would pull up into the neighbor's yard, get out binoculars to read the meter because they wouldn't walk into our yard, and they would leave all of our packages at the neighbor's yard, even though the dog couldn't get to them. Yeah, no, nobody would come past our gate because they had seen him snap the chain holding him more than once.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I can believe it. And he probably was a very nice dog too.
When he was really funny. If he was on the chain, he was at work, period, in statement. Nobody could get near him. If he was off the chain, he would lick you to death.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most interesting switch I'd ever seen. On the chain, he was at work. Didn't matter.
Ginny, yeah, we're getting so much conversation. I'm sorry, it's been a while
That's
since
okay.
I got to you.
That's cool. That's cool.
When was the first time and first identity in which you wrote your first pet story, your first story with an animal in it? Was it your first story like everybody else's?
A.E. Stanton. Oh yeah, A.E. Stanton, Legend of Belladonna, Natural Born Outlaws. The horses, is particularly my heroine's horse, are very, very important. While everybody's been talking, I've been trying to think of, I have a few that do not have animals in them, and mostly it's because either the animal will take over the plot inappropriately, right? Or I just have too many characters to pull an animal in this particular installment. But 90% of what I write will have at least an animal, if not many. In the Night Beat, which is the first of my Necropolis Enforcement Files series, where it's all undeads, one of the good guy liches, he's starting to have parts fall off. He has a giant white worm as a pet, Rover. And Rover's the sweet, and he'll like hug. He'll wrap around and kind of hug his owner's arm back in so they can reconnect, and everybody gives Rover little scritchies and everything else. So yeah, I'm with whoever, I can't remember who, has, like, my werewolves have pets. It's like, yeah, my undeads have pets. My everything has pets. There are no more. The Alien series, though, is where I really am, like, I'm loaded with animals. So, and in various stages, similar to Mel, some of them are just animals, and some of them are much, much higher sentience and way more able to do what needs to be done. And I have a million and one dog stories and 2,000,001 cat stories, but I'm going to save them from another time because I'm sure you've got another question.
Well, the question I was going to ask was actually something that Becke alluded to, is what do you feel adding an animal adds to the story, whether it be as an animal or as something more, an alien, a sentient being, or a familiar?
Furry handcuffs. And yes, Jenny, I blame you for that one.
Yeah, they're the furry handcuffs. Yes, they are. Well, for me, what I think, I'm going to be brutally frank. Okay, you want people to attach to your stuff, make sure there's some kind of adorable animal in it, because everyone attaches to the animal. Alien Tango, I have alligators in there. They are among the most popular supporting characters in the gators. Okay, so people, we just are naturally, I think, disposed to attach to an animal, like in not my series, but the scary one with Sigourney Weaver in Alien. I honestly only cared about the cat. As long as Jonesy and Sigourney make it out, I don't care about anybody else. That cat doesn't make it, I hate you forever. So I just think I really, as an author, I sincerely consider why I'm not putting an animal in this story. And there's always, it will distract too much from what the story needs to cover. It will give the characters a focus I cannot afford for them to have.
Yeah, speaking of gators, you've heard of Alligator Loki, right? From the series?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And if I hadn't, every fan, look, it's a gator. It's a Loki gator. Yeah, believe me, I was inundated when that came out. Yes. It was not a bad thing. I was like, here he is. He made my newsletter. Here's Gator Loki. He's my favorite Loki, right? So yes, anything happens to a gator worldwide, somebody sends that information to me.
All righty then. Speaking of information that has to be shared, Mel, you're going to talk to me about those furry handcuffs as you tell me what pets bring to your stories or the stories.
It was something Jenny and I had just been talking about traveling and stuff and not being able to travel as much because of our furry handcuffs. And I thought it was the best phrase I'd ever heard. But it's really true. There are some stories where my Kaylin Chronicles, nobody has pets because they're traveling all over the world. They're getting kidnapped. They're doing all of this other stuff. Yes, there's animals in there, but pets would either they'd have to abandon them because no matter how much you love your pet, you can't always stop to get them when somebody's shooting at you. And I can't do that. I have enough nightmares in my own head going, what if the house is on fire? How do I get all the cats?
Right.
It's just, there's sometimes that with some stories, especially if they're thrillers or there's something where everybody's really running around a lot, I think most pets are going to distract from you being able to tell the story because I have to rush off to save the world. Hi, Mom, can you come and pet sit for me? It doesn't work. And even with a few of the romances that I have under another pen name, there's enough tragedy and trauma with what I was doing with that story that having a pet and an extra responsibility, because pets are responsibilities, it would have just been one straw too many. And I don't think the story could have supported it, or it would have made people hate me because you would end up getting rid of the pet when your choice is you give the pet to the pound or you lose your home and you can't feed your mother and sister. So there's some situations where I'm like, yeah, no pet, we're good, you're petless. And
or if you have a perverse mind like mine, you started talking and immediately I was thinking, that would make a really funny movie if the spy had to constantly save his cat.
And see, it'd have to be a cat because the dog would follow you enough. But then again, I'm also the person who personally thinks the original Incredible Journey, Incredible Journey was like one of the most awesome movies ever made. I didn't like the remake as much.
Yeah,
there's a fabulous scene in Hellboy where he's juggling a box full of kittens while also fighting a monster.
Yeah. The Hellboy can do that. Done. Yeah, it can be done. It helps if you're Hellboy, though.
Yes, but that's one scene, not an entire book.
Right.
Have you ever seen his quarters? It's full of cats.
Elektra, what
He took them home.
Yeah, speaking of Hellboy, talking about humanizing a character, here the big red ugly guy from hell, kitten, kitten. Yeah, but what do you think that animals, pets, familiars bring to fiction, whether it be uh, narrative fiction, graphic fiction, movies,
Well,
whatever?
at least one piece, think about stuff like cozy mysteries.
Mhm.
Anybody who likes pets is drawn to the fact that there's always a cat and or a dog on the cover. And that always just sucks you right. I'm going to pick this up and see, like, am I going to want to buy this book? Because it's got a cute little cat on the cover. And the cats are always, continuing characters through the series. Because every major, and Dean James, who writes as Miranda James, has got a series where the sidekick character for the librarian is a Maine Coon cat.
Diesel.
And he has consulted with breeders to make sure that the cat acts like acts Maine Coon like.
Well, unlike the Mrs. Murphy murders, you get a cat and her sidekick is a dog. So I love those.
Hey, I love cat mysteries too. I confess most of the ones that feature dogs are not as good as the cat mysteries, but that's just me. Becke, what do you feel animals bring to your work, to fiction as a whole?
The biggest thing I think that you use an animal for, to me, is to show the character's empathy. So I think it's particularly a good tool if you have a character that is not very lovable at first. And you see the movies do this a lot. You'll see this big bad villain, like you go with the old Westerns, and what's he do? The first thing he'll do is like rescue a kitten or rescue a puppy or whatever. And so to me, that's one thing. The other thing is I use the animals can foreshadow something that's going to happen, because the dog's going to alert or the cat's going to alert. I mean, almost all animals will alert that there is somebody coming or a change in emotion. So that's another thing. And then like I said, I think comic relief, and then I love it to break up an internal monologue. So those are the things that I use it as a tool, if you will.
Yeah, well, we're writers, so we do use everything that we put into our books as a tool. And so I'm just curious about how people use their tools. Kaje, you've got animals all throughout your work. How do you use animals in your, fiction as a way of humanizing the characters, as a way of delivering internal monologues, as a way of breaking up exposition? And what do you think animals add to various forms of fiction, whether it be novels or movies or whatever?
Well, they definitely can be an emotional touchstone for the character. A lot of times I'll have a character who is in a very difficult place, and possibly they can't express that to any of the people in their life. The animal often lets them have that emotional expression. So in my first werewolf book, the veterinarian main character tells what he thinks is this big dog that he rescued how lonely he is. And it's an emotional admission that he can't make to any of the people in his life, because he feels like he has to be the strong, he owns this practice, he runs it, they're his employees, whatever. So, or in Soul Support, I have a guy who's taking care of his elderly mother through her descent into advancing dementia. And, again, he's kind of carrying all the emotional burdens in that situation and feeling like he has to be strong. And so putting this stray cat that wanders in, into his life gives him something that he can talk to and be less than, strong and manly and in control with, and they don't judge. And so I think it gives those characters the chance to kind of reveal a little bit about who they are, what's happening inside them, to someone that they would legitimately be willing to be weak in front of. because it's this, you know, it's the pet that doesn't judge them and isn't going to turn around and tell them that they're not, you know, living up to what they should be. And sometimes that gives us the opportunity to take a character who hasn't revealed that emotional side to the reader and let them see that there's turmoil or there's pain or something else happening inside that character as they express it to this animal that is kind of their emotional support in that situation.
Everybody here has, yeah, these are all great points, by the way. Everybody here has had significant experience with multiple animals in their lives, which means we all have a lot of opinions when we see it on the page. What is the one thing that when you read about it in a work really, and it can be about any animal, really basically gets you going, no, just nope. Kaje, I'm going to start with you. Oh,
well, for the most part, it's an animal that is too cute and doesn't demand anything of the owner. They talked about furry handcuffs, and that really, when I see pets in fiction, that's often the thing that makes me step back, is that they're there as this kind of stuffed animal Muppet that doesn't need to be walked and never messes on the floor and doesn't throw up when your boyfriend is proposing to you, and you know that there's none of the downsides, you know, and that it doesn't ever hamper someone's life so they can go off on this weekend and there's always somebody who's, you know, happy to come take care of the pet for them, so that that lack of the downside parts that make living with an animal an interactive, you know, kind of process.
Elektra?
When people treat horses like living, breathing cars, you know, they don't get tired. They can go at one pace forever. It's just so weird reading that.
Yeah, it sounds sort of like another side to what Kaje has just said. Okay, Becke?
I guess the worst thing is, you know, like I said, as a cattle rancher and a horse trainer, I find I have to put a lot of stories down because I find authors who don't have, probably haven't done enough research about, you know, what a horse responds to and what it doesn't respond to, and how you move a cow, and how cows just are the meanest, nastiest things on the planet. I mean, they're very dangerous animals, especially if you're moving cattle and running them through the chute and stuff. So to me, I have to be careful with probably the rancher experience, because I've lived that life, and so that makes a difference. And then we showed and trained horses for years, and you know that they're you know, you have to understand and know how to work with animals, and you know, they're not mean or anything else, but they react as animals. They are animals, and so you have to respect that, respect their space. So when a author is not familiar with that, it usually shows on the page.
Okay, Ginny, what about you? What is your pet
I
peeve?
agree with what I have more than one. So so far, I'm sure I'm going to agree with whatever Mel's is too. I agree with what everybody said. I think I can, I think it boils down to, I think we're all probably saying the same thing. When you write an animal that never acts like an animal, and there's no reason for it not to act like an animal. Like when people write about a cat and the cat's nothing but aloof. My cats love me. Okay, my cats throw themselves upon me for love, scream if they don't see mommy in the room. Okay, so someone's like, well, you know, that cat was just this. It's like, have you ever even touched one? So when you're doing things like that, and one of the things that you know, like Becke just said, if you're not doing the research, I don't personally own the exotic animals I'm writing about, especially since many of them are alien animals. However, they are crosses, or they are based on real Earth animals, and you know, it's like they're making animal choices. Sometimes those choices align with what my human and bipedal aliens want, and sometimes they're just like, nope, you didn't say the right thing. And, nope, checking the paw. No, no, right. Because it's not triggering whatever it needs to trigger. But yeah, I mean, as soon as you write an animal that doesn't ring true, it's sort of like, okay, you've never owned one. Like those researchers, we believe that animals dream. It's like, have you ever owned one? Of course they do. Do you not see them? Animals can love. It's like you have to, in order to be an animal researcher, you have to have never been within 50 feet of an animal ever in your life. Because it's like these revelations a 5-year-old with a cat or a dog could tell you. So that just drives me nuts. But I'm with everybody. And like I said, I'm sure what Mel says, I'm going to be like, Yeah.
Okay, Mel, you're up.
I've always been, I've cared much more about animals than I've ever cared about people. I have a hilarious story I'll tell you guys when we're done. But the thing that drives me crazy, besides, torturing or killing an animal, pretty much it's an instant close the book on me, is how many people like to write livestock animals as either being smart or cuddly and cute. Okay, sheep are the dumbest animals on the face of the earth. Hogs are mean and nasty. I don't care how sweet your little pig is. Hogs, I will face a bear before I will face a hog. I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I love horses. I absolutely have zero doubt in my head that the horse will trample me if it thinks that I'm between something it either wants or wants to get away from. And it's not going to spend any time grieving over breaking my legs. I'm just like, there's a reason why those of us who grew up on farms are like, we're okay eating meat. They aren't all as cute and fuzzy as you think they are.
Chloe wants to live.
I don't think you have to. Yeah, I don't think you have to grow up on a farm to know that. When I was growing up, I was always been a city girl. Okay, army bred. All right. We lived in Frankfurt, Germany, and in the officers' area, because very hierarchical in housing, the green space was kept mowed, not by lawnmowers, but by sheep. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
You know why duck? Why duck is my favorite bird to eat? Because those nasty little creatures attacked me at a 5-year-old trying to give them breadcrumbs. It was, here's some bread, and they're biting me. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna eat you all. Delicious, especially with a fruit glaze. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Anybody who does this sheep, their coat is always pearly white.
Oh my God.
And they're cute. And I'm just like,
it's so filthy and loaded with
oh my
twigs.
God. I'm just like, you've obviously never been around sheep. It's like, I looked at somebody one time, I said, do you know why they bob sheep's tails? And they got this huge look going, what, you mean they cut off sheep's tails? I went, yes. And they're like, why would they do something so horrible? Because they're too stupid to lift them up when they poop, and they get glued to their legs and they die. And there's just this.
Yeah, really. Chickens are not too bright either. Let me mention, chickens pretty. This just went into a totally different way than I think whoever planned this panel thought it was going to. But I want us on again so we can have this continue this discussion. But chickens are really stupid. So are turkeys.
And me,
okay.
You've seen the tongue on a cow. Do you know how a cow cleans its nose?
Oh yes, yes,
yes,
yes.
Yeah. In your books.
Yeah. I'm a city girl. Wait, I'm basically a city girl, and I know most of these things. It's like, no, sheep are dumb.
Have you
Chickens
seen the movie? I want to say it had Owen Wilson and somebody else, about 2 cowboys who go to the big city to try to rescue somebody or something. And there's this one scene where they're trying to get information out of a drug dealer, and they use a baby calf to convince him to talk.
Yes. That is,
Oh, I
it
haven't
was,
seen it. I have to see that. What is it? Ooh, what movie? What movie?
come on, come
Uh,
on.
God, is that the Cowboy Way?
Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, okay.
And Harriman is in it, and who's the
Woody
other guy?
Harrelson?
Woody
Yeah,
Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, that's who it
And
was.
Hammond.
Not Owen Wilson, Woody Harrelson.
Oh no, Kiefer Sutherland, isn't it? Is it Kiefer
Ooh,
Woody?
okay.
I don't remember. But it is so funny because
it's a
people are
riot.
going, oh, that wouldn't hurt. I'm just
Oh.
rolling on the floor.
You know the
But
suction of
animals
those
are
little guys.
Everybody's gonna be
Okay.
going to see, okay, wait, what movie is she talking about? Why is this so funny?
These
Yeah,
women
we're
hate
gonna have to
animals.
find that movie and maybe stick it in the credits.
Oh, it's a riot. It's a riot.
Okay, unfortunately, we've only got time for like one more quick question, and then I will be asking you all to tell folks where they can find your current release and where they can find you on the web. But the first thing I want to ask is what is the animal pet familiar in your work that you'd most like people to know about? Okay, and I'm going to start again with you, Cage.
So I do have, in addition to pets, I have one series with familiars, and that's my Necromancer series, and this one here, Marked by Death, that's the first book. There is a cat familiar in there named Grim, who gets his point of view at the end of each book. He gets a little section to let us know what he thinks of everything that's been going on, and I think it just gives a counterpoint to the kind of human point of views going through it. First one is free, so in ebook anyway, and pretty much anywhere ebooks are sold. So people can check that out and see what Grimm thinks of his necromancer and his boy.
Okay. Becke, what is the animal pet familiar in your work that you're most proud of, and why?
I think it's probably the puppy barter, and that's this one. And the reason, it's because it was about the service dogs, and it was everything that I had learned there about the service dogs and how they can, the interaction that they have with humans, and how they are very helpful with autistic children, with PTSD. And so that one was with the dogs. And the second one is Carolina Cowboy. And I modeled the horse in this after one of my geldings, AC Shine, and it was a little appendix quarter horse that we took. He was my daughter's hunter jumper, and we took him to the ranch with us. So he went from the show ring to working cattle. And he was so phenomenal in making that transition and everything. But he was a little bit quick, so he could turn out from under some riders. But that book was his book. So that's probably, those are my two.
Elektra, what about you? What animal, familiar, pet in your work is the one that you like the best? And tell us where it,
Well,
why?
I haven't really put out enough there to pull stuff out of, so I'm going to borrow from a couple of friends.
Okay.
Sean and McGuire's church griffins. They're like little flying Maine Coons, always getting into mischief. And Carol Nelson Douglas's Midnight Louie. He always had cat priorities, like getting the best food and getting to go to the best places right at top of mind while helping solve mysteries. And he was so very cat-like, and we are going to miss Carol Nelson Douglas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. The world lost a treasure when she died in October. So anyway, Mel, let's bring us up a bit from that. Can you tell us which of your animal characters, familiars, pets, is your favorite? I know I'm asking you to pick your favorite child, but anyway.
Okay, so this is Carillion. He is a cat, and I'm going to read you 3 sentences from, this is the latest published book, and this will explain to you exactly why I love this cat. May I eat her after you kill her? First, I'm not going to kill her. I rose from my chair and moved to one end of the room. Second, ooh, I really don't think humans taste as good as you think they do. Meat is meat. Hot sauce solves everything.
Yes, absolutely. And humans, when cooked,
That's
smell
him.
like pork. Mhm.
Mhm,
He's
mhm.
he's perfectly fine. He's a good dead rival. That's dinner for me, right?
Right, absolutely. You know, they'll eat your eyeballs when we're done. Okay. Ginny, what is the animal or alien or familiar that you're most proud of? And, you know, tell us a little bit about why.
Well, I love them all, but reality says that the best creation I've come up with are the poops. They are an alien animal. They look like big fluffy balls of fur. The closest comparison are little tiny poofy Pomeranians or very fluffy cats that are, turned around. Their fur is so fluffy you can't even see that they have ears, that they have tails, and that they have paws. For quite a while, my main character doesn't realize there's here, okay, because they're just so fluffy. They can also go over 6 feet, gigantic 6 feet, full of teeth. They're carnivores and they're great protectors. They attach to the person who names them, but they decide what the name is that they're answering to. So they're really choosing their person, their owner. And that isn't realized by the sentient bipeds until several books in. But they are very great. They are alien animals, and we get to find out through the series that they are way more alien than even the aliens know about. They can basically time warp. They can do whatever they want, and yet they're still animals, and so they still have animal restrictions and animal issues, but they're great. And Kitty's motto is poofs for everyone and more poofs for me.
I'm good with that. Okay. Could you tell folks what your current release is and where they can find you on the web?
My current release is Gunfight on Europa Station. It's an anthology from Baen Books. My short story in there is Showdown on Big Rock 27 by me, writing as Anita Ensall. Coming up will be a few. Oh, and Silence in the City also just released, which features The Darkening by me, writing as A.E. Stanton. You can find me at my website, www.ginikoch.com. I'm on Facebook far much more than I'm sure I should be. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Pinterest, and it looks like I'm on Instagram, but I'm really not. Please stop sending me messages. I'm not getting them. I just get the notice that someone else has sent me something on Instagram. So send me something on Pinterest, because I'm still there.
Okay. Well, Kaje, what about you? What's your current release and where can folks find you on the web?
I just got done re-releasing a mystery series, the Life Lesson series that I had gotten back from my publisher. So my next new release is going to be one of the Necromancer series, book 5. It's called Beset by Demons, and it's coming out on the 22nd of February. As far as where I am on the net, Facebook is a good place to look for me. I do have a Facebook group, and I do short fiction on that group every week on Sundays. If people want, little flash fiction short stories. Of course, the last one turned out to be 18,000 words, but mostly it's short fiction. You can also find me. I run a young adult LGBT books group on Goodreads. You can find me on my website, which is kajeharper.com.
Okay, great. Okay, Becke?
You can find my latest release was Murphy's Cinderella. It's part of my Clock Tower romance series that was it's set in a North Carolina small town. And you can find me at BeckeTurner.com, and I spell my name with an E, which is kind of weird, but that's the way a little first grader spells their name, so that they don't have to put their last name on it. And I'm on Facebook as Rebecca Turner or Becke Turner Books, and those primarily, that's the only ones I go at. I have TikTok too, but I probably wouldn't respond to that. So
Okay. Elektra, newest release and where we can find you on the web.
My latest release is O-Rings in alternate piece, edited by Stephen H. Silver and Joshua Parmentier. And you can find me on the web at untilmidnight.com. And that's where everything is.
Cool. Okay. Mel, what's your current release? And I think I know what it is. And where can folks find you on the web?
Well, I've got a short story in Talents and Talismans 2 that's out, a short story in It Came from the Trailer Park that's out, and then the most recent one, which was October, is This Is Before. And you can find me on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, all under Bad Ash, ASH. I'm not saying a bad word, Bad Ash
Yeah.
Books, or you can find me on the web under Bad Ash Publishing. So that
Okay.
tends to be where I'm at. And I'm working on the TikTok thing. It just hasn't, I'm slow. I'm thinking about it.
It's all those animals getting in the way, and the feral hogs, and you know, all that are just running us roughshod over us. Yes, the animals, whether they're pets or familiars, they run our lives.
I
And
have one
suspect-
that's ignoring me. He refuses to come over and say hi. So
Well, I know he has refused to say hi, but he has pointedly walked past the camera about 4 times that I've counted. So yeah, they run the show. But
yeah,
anyway.
it's like not happening.
No, not now. Anyway, well, thank you all for joining us here today. We loved all the stories, and I know we could go on and tell more. And thank
Clearly.
you out there for joining us at ConTinual, the convention that never ends.